King's College. As Ms. Blau said, my name is James Slocum, Director of Studies at King's College. This presentation is about 5 to 10 minutes. It's very brief. If anybody would like to ask any questions, the idea of a coffee morning is that you can. So afterwards, please feel free to ask. Buenos días, bienvenido a King's College otra vez. Soy James Slocum, el jefe de estudiantes. Perdón, lo siento, niños. Okay, only in English from now on. Vale, esta presentación solo 5 minutos, es solo en inglés. Si tiene preguntas después, por favor, habla conmigo o Miss Blaus. Es muy fácil. Okay. There are a few things that I'd like to go through today. There are 4 main things. First of all, to explain that everything that we do in terms of reporting pupil progress, and tracking and monitoring student attainment, is based upon the college's assessment policy. The assessment policy looks a little bit like this. I've put a copy on every table. It's downloadable from the school website. I'm sure some of you have seen it. It explains the assessment systems that we use in school, and it explains how they can be interpreted by you, both from a parental perspective and also how you can interpret the level of attainment that your children are working towards. It also explains promotion criteria, and we describe promotion as the move from one year group into the next. It is expected that students at King's College reach a certain level of attainment at the end of each academic year, and in order to move from one academic year to the next, they must reach that level of attainment, and that's all detailed in here. If anybody would like an additional copy of it, I can get you one, but it is available online should you want to download it and read it through at home yourself. The assessment systems that we use for these year groups are quite complicated. So I'll do my best to explain the assessment systems that we use. That's the type of grades that your children will receive on their report. Year 7 is the easiest of the lot because it's just a continuation from Key Stage 2. So the only grades we use on Year 7 reports are national curriculum levels. Those should be familiar to you from the junior school. When we go into Year 8 and particularly Year 9, it gets much more complicated because we start adding different assessment systems onto a report. The reason we do that is because we accelerate the rate of learning that we offer to students, particularly in Year 9. All of our core subjects, English language, English literature, maths and the 3 sciences, we begin the delivery of GCSE at the beginning of Year 9, and we can't deliver assessment on the basis of national curriculum levels. We have to move that forward to GCSE grades. So you will find on Year 9 reports there's a jumble of letters and numbers, some of which probably won't make too much sense unless you know the assessment system that we're offering. So I'll explain that today. The types of report, we have 2 main types of report. First is a grade card. All of you should have received a grade card over the past 2 weeks. It simply contains grades. The second type of report is a progress report. It contains grades and also a comment that has been written by the subject teacher and also by the tutor. Years 7, 8, 9 and 10 will receive a progress report by the end of this term, post-internal exams. And of course the features of the report. There are 4 that I'm going to go through. We'll have a look at them very quickly, and if you have any questions then please do ask. On your table I've deposited a few of these. They are only in English, sorry Mr. Faust. So there are Spanish versions available. They can be downloaded from the web, and I have some with me, so I can get you some. Okay. These are the best thing, really, to enable you to interpret what the grades mean on the report that you have for your child, particularly on the back where it has the school's level ladder. I'll go through that in a moment as well. Okay, so features of the report. One of the biggest changes that we enacted 2 years ago at King's College was to start using a monitoring and tracking system that enabled us to target pupils for the end of the academic year. There was no target on a report prior to that, and we've now added the target so that you know, principally, as parents, where your child is heading for the end of the academic year. It's not prescriptive, it can change, it's amendable, it's adaptable depending upon the progress of the child. But it's quite important from your perspective because you, at the very beginning of the academic year, should be able to see where your child will end at the end of the academic year. It gives you an opportunity to monitor and track, just like we need the opportunity, the progress of your children. It's personalised. A target grade is dependent on 3 sets of data. The first set is historical data. Certainly for all of our students that have been here for a number of years, we've built up a bank of information about them. We know how many levels of progress they're likely to make over an academic year, and we know what level of progress they achieved at the end of last academic year. Therefore, we can change and adapt targets depending upon historical data. The second piece of information we have is what we call baseline data. Some of your students, or some of your children at the beginning of this year, particularly in years 7 and 10, may have come home to you at one point and said, "Well, I did a test on a computer in Tenbury House." That's baseline data. We run a project with what's called the SEM Centre. It's based at Durham University in the UK. And it gives us information about the predicted end of key stage result. So for all of year 7, the end of key stage at the end of year 9, and for all of year 10, the end of key stage at the end of year 11. It gives us an analysis of where your children are likely to end up. And the third piece of information we have is, of course, the personal information. Your children's subject teachers, their heads of department, their tutors, have continuous conversations about the level of progress, whether or not that progress can be sustained and can be high. All of that information goes into producing a target grade, which we use and we put on the report. Next to that, you see a progress colour. Now, the progress colour probably doesn't make much sense at the very beginning of the year because the picture over the year hasn't yet built up. You can see here that it says October monthly progress. Well, by the end of June, there will be 9 progress colours that shows you a picture over the academic year of how your child is progressing towards that end of year target. There are 3 colours, just like traffic lights. Red obviously signifies something's wrong. Green might signify that they're going and working beyond their target, which is certainly good. And yellow is on track to achieve it. Of course, what we want is for everyone to have as many yellows and greens as possible, but it depends individually on the target that's been set. Because the target is individual, the extent to which a child can achieve a yellow or a green is limited by that target. So, for example, and this probably doesn't apply to many of you, but certainly in year 11, if the target has been set at an A star, you'll very quickly work out that you can't get beyond an A star, and therefore a green is not attainable. That is a quirk of the system, and it's just something that we have to explain, and it's quite easy to explain. But of course, most of your children will probably come home and say, "Mummy, Daddy, I've got a red on my report," but don't read too much into it because this is what it means. And those conversations are good, and I'd encourage you to have them because they're really valuable. They're the kind of conversations that we weren't having 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and as a result of that red flashing up on a report, it initiates a conversation probably between you and the child, and then hopefully between you, the child, and us, so that we can address whatever problem has been identified. The next feature is the current working at level. In theory, the working at level is the stage at which they are at now. You can therefore work out what amount of progress they need to make between now and the end of year. In this particular example on screen, you can see in English that this child is working at a level 4A. Their target is a level 5C. That's one sub-level of progress. That may be based on historical data, baseline data, or personal data. It depends. But you can work out, crucially, the amount of progress that your child needs to make between now and the end of the academic year to achieve that target. I will point out here that, remember, the target is flexible. It goes up. If your child exceeds that rate of progress, one sub-level during the year, then of course the target will go up with it. The cycle is meant to be an ever perpetuating upward cycle of attainment and progress. The idea is to continue the rate of progress so that it's accelerated. And finally, the effort grade. Standard system 1, 2, 3, 4 applies all the way through primary into secondary, 1 being outstanding, 4 being unsatisfactory. At the end of the academic year, this is halfway through the academic year, it's March, this is the kind of report you will see. The idea is that it gives you an opportunity to identify what's going on throughout the academic year. You can see in this example, something happened in December. I don't know what that was in this particular example, but you might. You may have had an incident at home where there was an extended period of absence because your child got ill, or something happened external to school life, or even internal to school life, that can explain what happened in December. The idea of this system is at the end of the academic year we can sit down and we can analyse it, and, if necessary, we can intervene. Subject teachers have to add in these colours every 4 weeks. Every 4 weeks gives us a very proactive opportunity to intervene when there are issues or problems that arise. It's a very quick system. It enables us to catch a problem before it develops into an even bigger one. Of course, the whole idea is that this acts as a motivational tool, and just as red may demotivate some children, green may motivate some children. And you will probably find that the biggest feature on reports when your children come home is the colour. They're really interested in the colour. And what we're trying to do, now we're in our second year of using this system, is ensuring that the colour is used as a motivational tool to ensure sustained high progress. That's the idea. Okay, it gets complicated, going back to the assessment systems that we use. Those parents of Year 7, it's easy for you at the moment, so relax. Those of you who are parents of Year 8, now there are 3 different assessment systems, or there will be 3 different assessment systems that appear on your report. First of all, for all subjects that we deliver the British National Curriculum in, you will receive a report or an assessment grade in a national curriculum level. That is dependent upon the level ladder, which looks like this. For those of you, or those children who do First Certificate English, which starts in Year 8 and finishes in Year 9, the grading system is the Cambridge First Certificate grading system. That's A, B, C and D. That's not national curriculum levels, that's not GCSE grades, that's First Certificate grades. Clearly we're not going to apply a different assessment system when it's not appropriate. And of course, for those children that do Ciencias Sociales and Lengua, there is the Spanish system, 0 to 10, 5 being the pass mark. In Year 9, when it gets really complicated, there are 4 different assessment systems we use. And the reason for this is very simple. On the whole, our pupils perform very, very, very well, significantly above UK averages in the core subjects. The 3 sciences, the 2 Englishes and the mathematics. We insist, unlike many schools, that all students do 3 separate science GCSEs. 2 or 3 years ago, if your children in years 7 through 10 had siblings, they would have done coordinated science, which is the equivalent of 2 GCSEs. Now we've squeezed 3 separate sciences, all 3 separate sciences, as individual qualifications into the curriculum. As a result of that, we'd had to bring the sciences down into year 9. So we start GCSE courses in the 3 separate sciences at the beginning of year 9, as we do for English, language, and English literature, and mathematics. As a result of that, we have to deliver assessment, and obviously what appears on your report, in a GCSE grade, which is just a letter, or a star, if they're very good. So A star through A, B, C, D, all the way down to U. A U is a really bad grade, and something that we wouldn't expect any GCSE student to get. But again, the grading system is available both in the assessment policy and on the guide if you want to know exactly what the grades mean. For the purposes of convalidators, those students who are Spanish and who want to convalidate their studies into the Spanish ESO, you need to get pass grades. Pass grades, according to the Spanish government, are C or above. The vast majority, 97% of our students, get C's or above in GCSE, which is brilliant compared to the number of GCSEs that are sat by students, up to 9 or 10 or sometimes 11 per student. First certificate concludes at the end of year 9. First certificate exam finishes in May and June of this year for year 9, and then first certificate is removed from the report. Year 10 is the easiest report, just like year 7, where it all converts to GCSE grades. And there's no first certificate, and there's no national curriculum levels. Anybody wants any more information on that, I'm quite happy to explain it. I've just noticed that Mr. Orford has just walked into the room, academic coordinator for year 8 and 9, and Mr. Parkinson as well. We're all very capable of explaining it to you. We appreciate that it's complicated, but we do need to make sure that we're assessing children in the most appropriate way, and stretching them, of course. All of the information related to national curriculum levels, the assessment policy, GCSE specifications, and such like are available from these organisations. So the Department for Education, Cambridge CIE, EdXL, and of course our assessment policy is online. Please do note these websites down before you leave, and have a peruse of them when you get home. They are very informative. Of course, we're here as well, and we can inform you. I have gone slightly more than my 5 or 10 minutes that I promised. It's now 10:05, but I'll be here for another 20 minutes. Happy to explain anything to you that you require. Thank you.